Now, OPEC is due to release its monthly oil market report, and the group is meeting at the end of this month in an attempt to cut output, but investors seem increasingly reluctant that this will be the case. Jibril Kareem is an energy analyst with EcoBank Group, and he joins us from Lagos. Jibril, it's good to have you on the program.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Good afternoon. First of all, what's your reaction as regards the emergence of the Republican candidate Donald Trump as the next U.S. president?
Well, I think it's more of a mixed reaction, actually, because if we look at the campaign promises of Donald Trump, a lot of it have been centered about improving production at home and less reliance on crude oil from the Middle East. Although with so many of his promises, there was no elaborate plan on how that will be achieved. Currently now, the U.S. imports about 5 million barrels from other producers outside Canada. So how that will be, demand level will be filled with local production is not feasible anytime soon, if ever. So on that side of things, it's not really positive or negative for oil, but in the immediate reaction by traders in the market, you can see prices has been fluctuating a lot because people didn't really know what to read into his victory, whether it be hold true on his promises and significantly improve production at home and decrease imports from the Middle East, which will contribute to the supply glut in the market, or whether we'll have a lot of opposition to most of his policies that will continue to favor the climate change. The climate change activities that has led to a lot of reduction and restriction on drilling in the U.S. So right now, it's a mixed bag of positive and negative, and it's not so much anything as to how solid on what his policies will be, how his policies will impact the market.
So this is creating some kind of uncertainty in the crude oil market. But I'd like you to talk to us about how his victory may pose as a challenge to OPEC's plan to cut output, and of course, like you mentioned, the ability to increase demand for the black gold.
Well, OPEC plans to reduce production. Currently, about a few minutes ago, OPEC released its November report, and we saw production increase again by over 200,000 barrels, mostly pushed by production from Iran, Iraq, and much more importantly, Nigeria and Libya. And what we've seen is that for OPEC to achieve its cap now, the OPEC members will have to cut over 1 million barrels now at current production level. Well, that will be much more difficult to achieve because the members that are willing to cut are most likely not going to agree to such level of decrease in production. And if you look at that in the broader perspective, it's kind of negative for oil now, but it's election of Mr. Donald Trump and its impact on the market now. We really cannot measure what that impact will be. Although what we can agree on is that the policy of his party, which is the Republican Party and the Conservative Party, has always been drill, which is more production at home, less reliance on crude oil importation, which is bad for OPEC. But what we should also note is that should there be any immediate friction between the Middle East and the United States, it gives OPEC more power, because which simply means that you have about 5 million barrels coming from this region on daily basis, and if there is any friction that is halting production going into the United States, we could simply have a sudden surge in prices of WTI, maybe not as much for Brent.
Okay. OPEC is actually due to release its monthly oil market report today. What should we expect from that report?
Actually, the report was just released about an hour ago. And what we got from the report is that production from Nigeria is recovering, and production from Libya also is on a high recovery rate. We have about an additional 150,000 barrels, more than 150,000 barrels each from Libya and Nigeria, as well as increase in production from Iran and Iraq as well. So despite a slight decrease in production from Saudi Arabia, OPEC has again broke its previous production level, and is now at a new record high in terms of production, which means that for OPEC to reach its goal production that was agreed on last month, it really means that the cartel will have to cut more than what the initial 750,000 barrels that was anticipated. Now we are talking about something in the range of 1 million to 1.2 million barrels of decline.
Okay, just before I let you go, Jibril, do we think that this emergence of Donald Trump as U.S. next president could impact on Nigeria's role in the crude oil markets?
Well, the good thing is if there is a friction between the United States and the Middle and countries in the Middle East, the demand from the United States have to be filled somewhere else. So Nigeria used to be one of the major suppliers to the United States before. We might just be taking a lot of share of the market there. But that's all that right now. What we should also understand is that promises during campaign might actually not be feasible when you begin to assess how the possibilities of the things that you have promised the masses.
Thank you so much for your perspectives, Jibril Kareem, energy research analyst with EcoBank Group. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, is meeting with stock market community in Lagos. Let's get to know what is going on at that end of the town as Temple Ashaju, who is Channels TV business news producer, joins us on the program. Temple?
Balaji, good to have you.
Thank you so much for coming, for your time with us on the show. Now, has the VP arrived?
Yes, he has arrived, and he's in a closed-door meeting with the management of the Nigerian Stock Exchange at the moment. We presume they are discussing some of the key points that will be had with the stockbrokers on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Like you know, by the end of this month, we should be having the last meeting, the last Capital Market Committee meeting this month in Lagos again. So that should be taking the center stage between the two figures of the meeting. Then you also know the 200 billion naira intervention fund that stockbrokers have been asking for. Those are some of the things that the president, the vice president, Yemi Osinbajo, and the management of the stock exchange, as well as the dealing members of the stock exchange, will be looking at this afternoon. We expect them on the floor in the next 5 minutes.
All right, thank you so much. Do keep your eyes on the developments for us. Temple Ashaju, Channel TV business news producer, reporting from the Nigerian Stock Exchange, as the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, will be meeting with stockbrokers and, of course, have some kind of discussions as to how to move the market forward. So on that note, we've come to the end of today's edition of Business Incorporated. Many thanks for watching. I am Bolaji Akinwale.